Afternoon and welcome to Pandemic Sleep Tips. Today we will be talking about creating your sleep sanctuary. Sanctuary reminds me of when I was a kid, I always loved forts, like building my own fort. And I always wanted, I guess I'll have to work with you someday, Catherin, to design this, like a bedroom with draping things and candles, like a fort, like a special secret hideaway. So that's what I think of. So we have Catherin here to help us create those visions into reality. And again, we'll be talking about sleep environment today. And I have Catherin Schager with us. Catherin is an interior designer who has a lot of interest in knowledge around holistic health as a whole. And so when she is designing your home, she takes those things into consideration. So she's a great person to have on to talk about sleep environment and creating a bedroom that maximizes your quality sleep. So she will be talking most of the time today. She's a principal at Catherin Schager Designs, which is a local company. And if you are on, if you can give us hearts and likes, just so we see that you're there, and it just makes us feel good. And if you have any questions, you can put those in comments. I'll be watching those and asking Catherin as we get a chance. And if you didn't get a chance to watch this live, but you're watching the recording later, again, still put your questions in the comments and we'll try to get back to you on those answers as well. So when I talk to people about sleep environment, I'm always talking about light, sound, temperature, air quality, and of course telling them that they shouldn't be using their bedroom except for sex and sleep. So I don't know where you want to start. If you want to start with use of bedroom for only sex and sleep, if you have the privilege of doing that, and we can go from there.
Yeah, that's a good place to start. I agree with Amy. I am not a fan of having screens in your bedroom. A lot of people like to have a TV in the bedroom, but actually the light that gets emitted from the screens is quite disruptive to sleeping, as well as the light that's emitted from your phone. So I like to tell people, if you feel that you need to have your phone in your bedroom, because you have kids or whatever, put it in a drawer in your nightstand or something so you can still hear it if it rings, but you're not then, you're not disturbed by the light that gets emitted from that, that enters your eyes and keeps you from creating melatonin in your body, which helps you fall asleep.
Yeah, and actually to that point, it's not even our eyes, because some people think they can wear the sleep mask and that will take care of it. But there was a study done at Cornell University where they shone a light just on the back of a gentleman's knee. And the skin is also a photoreceptor. And so the light just on the back of his knee disrupted his circadian rhythm and impacted his sleep. So it's really important what you're saying, making sure we don't have that light in our room.
Yeah, and from a design standpoint, another way that you can achieve a room that is dark is to use good window treatment. So sometimes people will have blinds in their room, and those really still emit a lot of light. And even, as the sun starts coming up earlier and earlier, you start getting light into the bedroom earlier and earlier, which can disturb your sleep. So I like to tell people, if you need to have light blocking, you can have shades, you can have Roman shades, you can have draperies, but there's a lot of different ways you can address window, light coming from the window.
Mm-hmm.
Another one, I'll just be real quick about this. Another pet peeve of mine is when people have CFL lights, the fluorescent, the compact fluorescent bulbs. Those emit a light wave that's not a great one for your body. So I dislike having those in the bedroom. It's better to have an LED and dim them, or if you have to, incandescent light is usually the best. Or you could even do halogen, but there's not a lot of halogen around these days.
Yeah. So when I talk to clients about the TV, there's a few issues. One is getting that blue light close to bedtime, but a second is sound, because a lot of people fall asleep with the TV on and the sound isn't consistent. So I also recommend not having the TV because the sound will disrupt your sleep. A lot of people think that they need the TV sound to sleep, but that you're better off with a more consistent sound. So I know some people have problems sleeping just because of noise of traffic or things outside. Do you have anything that you take into consideration in regards to sound as you're designing?
Well, again, if it is a noisy space, there's a number of ways you can reduce the sound in your room. Having a carpet or a rug certainly cuts down on the noise. Window treatments help cut down on the noise. Any softness in the room, if all the surfaces are hard, the sound tends to bounce around and the room is a lot noisier than if there's some softness in padding in the space. That does definitely help.
Oh, that's good to know. And then I recommend sometimes a white noise machine. Some people have fans on. You do have to be careful with fans. I sound like an old Chinese grandma right now, but in Chinese medicine, when you have air blowing on you, it can cause illness. So catching a cold or things like that. So I don't recommend like having the vent from your air conditioner right on your bed. And I'm getting older and I have arthritis. And I know when I have cold air blowing on me, I can feel it in my bones now too. So something to consider as we all age, right?
Yeah. It's better than the alternative though. So
yes, it is. I will take it. So besides sound and light, one thing I talk about a little bit is air quality. I know you have a lot of thoughts around air quality.
Yeah, I think it's really important to think about the materials that you bring into your bedroom, and the other things that you do. Like for instance, paint. When you paint your room, use paints that are low or no VOC, which means volatile organic compounds. What happens is that paint, as we know, it smells, and that's called off-gassing. And maybe you only smell it for a day or two, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's no longer off-gassing. And off-gassing isn't good for our bodies. Also, with mattresses, I'm not personally a huge fan of foam mattresses because they can tend to off-gas. And again, it's not a real healthy thing for you to have in your bedroom when you have things that are off-gassing. So I like natural materials in the bedroom, cottons and linens, and, as long as you're not allergic to things like wools, but the natural materials are better and more conducive to comfort and sleep.
Yeah, I have a lot of clients that have autoimmune issues, and there will be a lot of sensitivity to things like paint. And so it makes me aware, because I might not have those noticeable reactions that they do, but it's still impacting my body just more slowly. And I might end up with cancer or something later. So it's helpful to have them there to know what are issues in my space. And I know one time when I painted with the paint that you talked about, and it was amazing because there's no windows that you can open in my space, and we could paint without dying. I was like, this is crazy. Such a huge difference.
It is. And again, it's ongoing. It's not that it just smells for a day or two. Well, maybe that's all you notice, but that doesn't mean it stops off-gassing. So.
And with that too, if you're introducing scents, I know it's important to, if you're going to use candles, use something that just is natural. I know you like essential oils, and I have a few here that I couldn't find my lavender. So of course, lavender is one of the easiest ones to diffuse. But chamomile is a great one for sleep as well. doTERRA has a blend called Serenity, and there's other good oil blends. It doesn't have to be doTERRA, but the Serenity blend is specific for sleep. But some people, I have a lot of people that have a lot of congestion, so they might do something like Breathe, which opens up your nose. It's kind of a natural Vicks type of thing with a little bit of lavender in their diffusers. And as far as diffusers, you don't have to spend a lot of money. Like I sell doTERRA. I don't sell doTERRA diffusers. I think they're overpriced. You can find a pretty cheap one anywhere on Amazon or other things. People always ask me how many drops to put in, and there really isn't a science. Maybe I would do a total of 6 drops with whatever mixture you want. So if you want Breathe and lavender, you could do 3 and 5 or whatever smells good to you. So it's fun to play with.
Nice. And of course, I use the doTERRA oil, so I'm a fan. It works.
And then for air quality, another thing I recommend for people, if you're going to have any plants in your space, a snake plant is good. Snake plants actually were studied by NASA to be air purifiers, and they're nocturnal, so it means they're generating more oxygen for you at night. And there have been studies shown, so this isn't just Catherine's thoughts about air quality, but there are studies that show that when your air quality is better, you sleep better, which makes sense, right? We know when we have a cold, we can't sleep. So if you can't breathe well, you're not going to be able to sleep well.
Right. I'm going to go back for just a second to sound. I also find a really low-tech way of helping kind of sleep, have less sound in the bedroom is to use good old-fashioned earplugs. A lot of times people think that, then you don't hear anything and, oh my gosh, what if somebody has a problem or whatever? And the truth is, at least for me, I've found that they don't completely obliterate the sound, but they do tamp it down enough where you're able to settle and fall asleep.
Enough that helps with snoring spouses.
Yeah, that's why I use them.
And actually the Breathe can help with that as well. I know, or doTERRA has Deep Blue, which is for pain. I have a client that put some doTERRA on her wrist because her wrist was bothering her. And then she slept like this and she could breathe better. And her husband slept better because she could breathe better. She wasn't snoring as loudly either. So
good.
So what about, in the beginning, I said your bedroom should only be used for sleep and sex. I know that might be hard for some people right now because a lot of people are working from home and you might not necessarily have the space to have an office for everyone that's working from home, but what recommendations do you have around space?
So I like to tell people to corral the clutter. And I think that if you have to have an office space in your bedroom, try and make it a space that you can set aside and maybe close off in some way when you're done. Number one, because of the light that gets emitted from screens. So if you have a computer that's the screen is up, it's obviously going to disturb your sleep, but also just seeing that the office stuff, your work stuff, really doesn't help you to wind down. So I tell people if there's a way you can stash your laptop, put it in a drawer or something like that so you don't have to see it, straighten up this space, maybe tuck your papers away and things like that. That really does help you fall asleep better because the room is more tidy and it's calmer. So one of the big things I also like to tell people is, make your bed every day. It's comforting to look at a room that is clean and neat and tidy. So, don't have your kids' toys all over the place. Sometimes you have to, but pick them up or toss them out of the room when you go to bed at night.
Yeah, and there have been studies that show being in an orderly environment reduces stress as well. And it seems like I talk about this on every session we do, but when you have when you're struggling to manage your stress, your cortisol levels go up, and that impacts sleep. And that's probably the top thing that I notice when people come with sleep issues. It's stress that they're struggling to manage.
Yeah, and if you can have a room that feels very serene, be it because everything is picked up, but also because you've selected things that are calming as far as colors go, as far as, fabrics go, and things like that, all of that helps to make you to wind down at the end of the day.
Are there certain colors to pick? Like, should I not be picking neon green or something for calming, or bright red?
Yeah, probably not a real good idea for those. It's kind of funny. Recently, we redid our own bedroom, and I painted the walls kind of an olivey green. And you would be surprised how calming that color really is, because it's a natural color. So any colors that you find in nature that are, I don't want to say pastel, but more muted. So you don't want to have, really bold colors in your room, because they can be, they can, I won't say they're more stressful, but they don't necessarily invoke the calm that you're looking for.
The other piece we didn't talk about is temperature. And so one thing I usually recommend is that people keep their bedrooms between 60 to 68 degrees. Usually it's around 65, which might be a little chilly for some people, but your body needs to be, the core temperature needs to be low enough to get solid sleep. So if you're waking up a lot at night, you might want to try dialing down the temperature a little bit. And I know we're going into the summer. In the summertime, you don't want to be paying to have your air conditioning running to be at 65 degrees. And it wouldn't feel good anyway. So if that is an area that impacts your sleep, there's a product called Chili Pad. It's fairly expensive, so you want to make sure that this is your issue before you invest in it. But it's a pad that is like if you've been to my office, I have the warming pads on the bed that can keep you warm. It's like that, but it also cools. So it keeps you at a steady temperature throughout the night. So that can be helpful, because I notice sometimes here it will get really cold at part of the night and then get really hot. So if I have that keeping me at a steady temperature, it helps my sleep a little bit more.
That's great.
It is loud, but it's a consistent, it almost sounds like a white noise or something. So I've been able to sleep with it. But
cool. Where does one get those?
Chilipad.com. I can put a link in here as well. If you purchase it through me, I actually get some money for that. If anyone is going to purchase it again, I would test some things first. This is a perfect time to have the temperature a little bit lower and see if that impacts your sleep. And they usually have sales. You don't want to buy it unless it's at least 25% off. So don't buy it at the wholesale, like the regular price. Are there any other, I think we've covered all of the design areas pretty well, but any other things that we missed there? And again, if you have questions, make sure you add those in as well, and we can have Catherin answer those.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to lighting just for a minute. A lot of times people will have just overhead lighting or can lighting in their bedrooms. And I like to encourage people to have more than one layer of lighting. So maybe you have your overhead lighting, and that's great for when you're getting dressed, or, when you get up in the morning, you can put on overhead lighting and it kind of helps you wake up. But at night, you want to have a lower layer of light. So you want to have something that's lower down from the ceiling, and more specific lighting. Like maybe you like to have just your nightstand lights on, or something like that, if you like to read, because the light is then lower than your eyes. And again, it's not hampering your production of melatonin as much as bright overhead lighting. So think about that when you are lighting your space as well.
All right. So I know that you have a special right now that you'll do a 30-minute consultation in exchange for a donation towards the Hunger Resource Network or the Northfield Food Pantry. Is there more you can share, and how can people reach you, or how can they follow you?
So you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Catherin Schager. And if you make a donation of $75 to one of those charities, you don't even have to send me anything other than showing me the receipt for the donation. I'm happy to do a 30-minute virtual consultation for any room in your home, and we can just talk about what your thoughts are. I know it's a tough time, and people are looking around in their homes going, oh my gosh, this needs to be done, that needs to be done. I don't know what to do. So I like to think of this as kind of a win-win where people can get some idea of what they can do and maybe what they can do fairly inexpensively. And these the Northfield Food Pantry and Hunger Resource Network can help feed those that are struggling now.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure everyone's spending so much time in their house. There's a lot of people that will probably want to take advantage of that because they're tired of looking at the way it is now.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's going to be a lot of pent-up demand when this is finally over.
So I will put your website in the comments so it's easy for people to find that. And I'm guessing you probably have a link to Instagram and Facebook from your website. So we'll direct people for that versus listing all of them.
Okay.
But there's some great pictures of Catherine's work, and Instagram especially is the easy one to find and just look at what some of the rooms look like after you're done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any questions before we drop? Again, if you have questions, if you watch this later after we are no longer live, go ahead and still post your questions in the comments, and we will get back to those later. I have more of these coming up. So on Monday, we are talking about self-compassion for sounder sleep. And on Tuesday, I forgot, I talk about it all the time, yoga sleep. So we'll talk more about nidra and how that can help your sleep. So a couple more of these going on at least, and there might be one more I'm still trying to negotiate. And also, as far as giving back, a lot of you know that I do work with Kurt's Cafe off and on in Evanston. And Kurt's is providing meals right now for 40 to 45 families who have some food scarcity issues and are also shut in because they either have COVID-19 or they're in a high-risk group. And so we are raising money to try to send some toilet paper, soap, dish soap, things like that, along with their next meal. So if you are interested in contributing to that, you can go to evanstoncares.org. It looks kind of sketchy. It's really just me and 3 of my neighbors. But we do have that website, or you can reach out to me directly too. We would appreciate any donations. And also, if you want to follow their videos, we've done past sessions that already occurred, one around nutrition, one around tapping, one around I'm sleeping a lot, but I still feel exhausted, what's going on, and laughter yoga, and then energy medicine as well. So you can watch those either on Facebook Live or not Facebook Live, but Facebook under videos, pandemic sleep tips, or I have them all downloaded to my YouTube channel, and this one will be downloaded as well. That might be an easier place to go to and always refer back. And you can actually get to that YouTube channel with the pandemic sleep tips by typing in pandemicsleeptips.com, and it will direct you right to that sleep list. So shortly after this, I will get this one downloaded and it will be added there. But that's a great way to catch up on the ones that you've missed, or refer back to this to say, what was it that Catherin said about lighting? So thanks for joining us today, and hope everyone gets a good night's sleep. Thank you, Catherin.
Thank you.